When you look at the dragons, what do you see? It's important. What do you see?
I suppose I see us.
Tell me.
Everyone says Targaryens are closer to gods than to men. But they say that because of our dragons. Without them, we're just like everyone else.
The idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. They're a power man should never have trifled with. One that brought Valyria its doom. If we don't mind our own histories, it will do the same to us. Targaryen must understand this to be king. Or queen.
I might have to rewatch House of the Dragon after this. I forgot about that intro. Welcome back to Where Heartbreak Feels Good. We are back for our recap, episodic episodes of Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and now A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. That shall be the wrap-up. And yeah, as the title suggests, we will be talking about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms for the next 6-7 weeks.
6 weeks, yeah.
6 weeks, yeah. Joining me today for this show, my co-host, Evan Harris.
Glad to be here. Very exciting premiere. Yeah, I'm with you. I might have to rewatch. Yeah, I don't rewatch a lot of shows, but that House of Dragon episode 1 was really, really good. Season 1 in general, I think, was one of the best first seasons of any show.
Yeah.
People love to shit on House of the Dragon nowadays because if George hates it, now we have to hate it. It's like, no, we don't. I don't give a fuck. Sorry, Ryan and George. They probably have their own beef. That's a different show. But I'm very much looking forward to House of the Dragon season 3, and I'm very much looking forward to the rest of this season, A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. This is going to be fun to break down, 30 to 40 minute episodes in the world of Westeros. Is a
in and out,
setup.
baby.
In and out. We in, we out. This is a very unique storytelling that we already got from this premiere. It's a different vibe, and I'm liking it. It's smaller scale, but it's very necessary. You put this in the Game of Thrones episode, people would be calling it, filler. Nothing happened. But like, you put it in this show, this context, this framing, and it works phenomenally well. A lot of great character setup, a lot of great world building setup, settings, stuff like that. So I'm having a blast with this first episode. I can't wait to break it down. And going into this, I'm somebody I know of the story, which is gonna be interesting to talk about. Like, I know of the story of this, like I guess the first season. I don't know the novella stuff, the extra like sequel books, but I know the basic premise of this show. And you have read the books, the novellas, right?
Yeah.
How long are these novellas, by the way? 100-something pages?
Okay, so I just finished recently reading the first novella in preparation for this, and it's like the Hedge Knight is roughly around 120 pages. It's a very quick read. You can finish that in a day if you wanted to, really.
So
not our friend Josh, but yeah.
Yeah, nice to Josh Stray. There's novellas, and then there's like graphic novels about this story as well, right?
Yeah, they're like graphic novel adaptations of the novellas. Yeah,
got it. Okay, I think I've seen that around a lot as well. But yeah, apparently this is very faithful. But going into this, Edgar, is this a spoiler-free podcast? How are we doing this? Are we going into this with the viewers? Like, are we spoiling stuff? Because I don't know that much besides like I know who Egg is.
Yeah.
The show is not telling us who Egg is. Kind of. They're kind of like towing the last
clues here and there.
The last scene where he's like, I'm from King's Landing, but I'm not from Flea Bottom. It's like, what's going on here? But yeah. So
I think we can definitely spoil the show, like each episode as they release, like we've done with like House of the Dragon. But at least personally, I'll try to not spoil anything that happens moving forward, like in advance, like not spoil anything to you or to anybody who's watching this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll break it down as we go. But overall impression from the first episode, I thought this was again really, really strong first episode here. I think the best part about this episode is getting us ingratiated with who Dunk is as a character in contrast to other main characters in the world of Westeros. This guy's a very average Joe for an average, average Joe in like a very spectacular kind of world. But in this case, the world is very much small scale, so he kind of fits the tone of his own series a little bit. But even then, he's very like unassuming. He's very trusting. He's not like a bumbling idiot. He can take care of himself, but he's just very trusting in a world that's like filled with lords who either hate his guts, think he's trying to like he's a liar. Like you don't really know what's going on with these other lords. But Dunk, we kind of know what we get with him. Like he's very honorable, trusting, unassuming. He sees it as it is, kind of.
Yeah. One of the things that I loved about not only the opening sequence, but the way that Ira Parker talks about it during the inside the episodes after the episode. The very first line in the show is like Doug trying to like give like these like meaningful speech about his mentor who just passed away. And the first thing that he says is, "I don't have the right words," and that tells you everything that you need to know about the character. It's like you'll see it throughout the pilot of the show, but he's like such a genuine, like sweet, innocent guy to the point that it's like dangerously naive, especially for a world like Westeros, where if you are exactly like that, it ends up biting you in the ass at the end.
Yeah, you won't last long. Like in the world of Game of Thrones, it's like this kind of character, the Robb Stark of it all, like, dies. Like the Ned Stark dies. Like people who are honorable and just. Not saying he's like that far, but he's kind of like cut from the same cloth where he's like, yeah, he's an awkward guy. He can't find the right words, but he's still very like honorable and stuff like that to a degree. The one part about him, like possibly not being honorable that I think is very interesting is that we do get a lot of flashbacks in this show. But the one flashback we don't get is whether his father figure, I guess, is Sir Arlen, right? That's his name. Sir Arlen, whether or not he truly knighted him, knighted Duncan. I like that the show is keeping that a mystery. We get like, him getting punched in the face flashbacks, quick, short, comedic gags, but never like a meaningful one, which is probably the most meaningful one, where he's coming to this tournament to become like a full-on, knight at a household, whatever. But he, is carrying around either this truth or this lie that like his previous master, who's died, knighted him, and nobody was there to witness it. So it's like it's very interesting. That's the one piece of his character that I'm intrigued to see.
Yeah, that's something that is not necessarily different from the book, but so two things in the novels. The relationship between him and Sir Arlen seems to be like more what's the word that I'm looking for? Like more respectful. Not necessarily not respectful, but he doesn't come off as intimidating or violent towards Dunk. Like that line of he only beat me when I deserved it. That's still in the book, but like I guess like the book in and of itself, since you're in Duncan's head throughout the novels, you kind of like buy into the romanticization of Sir Arlen, and that's kind of like broken in the show, where every single time that we cut to a flashback, which is used as a gag, but you do see that maybe Sir Arlen wasn't like the most honorable guy himself. He might have had like all of these values that he really followed, but he was still kind of like a jackass, especially towards Duncan.
For sure, it's very interesting. We get a lot of gags with Sir Arlen, but regardless of that, I'm looking at more so the actions, and he still was willing to take Dunk in for a very long period of time. Dunk was a little boy from that flashback, and now he's a tall, young adult. He was willing to take care of him for that long. Dunk has, he's willing to be so nice in regards to Arlen's memory. So I assume like while Arlen was, not the best like paternal figure in the world, there was still a degree that he took him in the first place. So there was something there.
Yeah.
There was some kind of like heartfelt relationship at its core,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so that was point number one. Then point number two, which you already made, is about the whole story of whether or not he was knighted or not. You kind of just like accept that it's factual in the book, even though like that's still somewhat of a theory within the fandom, whether he was lying or not. But you, again, since you're like in his head for the most part, you don't really question it. The show is kind of like giving you clues of like maybe he wasn't knighted, and I feel like one of the clues is the fact that when he's burying Sir Arlen, he's kind of like debating whether or not he should bury him with the sword. Because if he was knighted and he was given all of these tools like the sword and the shield by Sir Arlen, why would he even question whether? Yeah, why would he even be thinking that? So again, it's a will the show actually answer the question? Honestly, I don't even really care, but I like that it's making you question that maybe even though he's like a very honest and genuine guy, even him is like a flawed character in some areas.
And that's the beauty of it, right? That's why I talked about it in the first place. That like we're getting this not flawless character, but a person who's very like, I'm just dunking the tall. He's trying to do something righteous in terms of like going to a tournament so he can become an actual knight. We'll see if it works out for him. Something small scale kind of goal there, but again, there is like that crack beneath the surface on, is he even telling the truth? Is he an actual knight? We know, he eventually becomes a knight, in Game of Thrones, right? I don't think that's a huge spoiler. Game of Thrones season, 2, 3, one of those.
Yeah, I think there's Joffrey who mentioned that there's like 4 pages written of him in the Kingsguard book or whatever, the white
exactly.
book.
So, this is a rags to riches kind of story. So we're seeing that rise with Duncan, and we're already episode 1 starting off with like a possible flaw, which is very interesting, because everybody else around him is very, very flawed. Maybe not Egg, maybe not this character, but because he seems very much like similar to Duncan, very righteous. Not telling Duncan everything, but very righteous in by itself, very kiddish as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like the intro here. Bit my tongue. I like the intro here. But how do you feel about the now like notorious gag with the opening sequence? We're getting Ramin Djawadi's music. It's escalating, and then cut to a shit gag. Like that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, those type of jokes are not my thing. I think this is like, it's not that it needed to happen, but I understand why that joke is here in the sense of we need to establish as quickly as possible what type of show you're about to watch. This is still Game of Thrones, but also it's a more adventurous, fun version of that.
For sure. And I think if people are complaining about the first like 5-7 minutes of this show, it is like the first couple of minutes is like beating us over the head with how different this show is. The editing is like snappy and sharp. It's like, I can't find the words, then cut to like his master hitting him, all this kind of stuff. And then like we're getting sharp edits into flashbacks, and flashbacks alone we don't even see that much in Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. And then like the gag with the shit take, that was pretty funny. I didn't mind it, but yeah, it was just beating us over the head with how different and comedic this show is going to be. Not all the comedy is going to work for you, but this is kind of like the tone that is being set for the show.
Yeah, I will say in terms of flashbacks, like all of the flashbacks in the opening didn't bother me. I think they were like pretty fitting. But as the episode kept going, and eventually we get a scene where he meets the lord that Sir Arlen served, like his father, and we get another flashback of like, oh, he took an arrow for your father, and it cuts back to like a flashback. And that's one of those instances where like I didn't really need that. Like it kind of just like distracts from the actual scene.
Yeah, but, but again, take an arrow.
Very nitpicky stuff there.
For sure.
But then after that opening sequence, he eventually makes the move to go to Ashford for the tourney, and he stops at an inn. I kind of hope that this show doesn't have an intro like House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. I like just like the cold like title opening. Like I that was very nice for at least this episode. So
I think the showrunners confirmed it on EW a couple of days or weeks ago that this show isn't going to have an actual opening. I'm perfectly fine with that.
yeah,
I'm
fine.
of the opinion where even though I like the House of the Dragon opening having the same song, I still would have liked a different song just to separate it.
Yeah.
Ramin Djawadi, you make a million perfect songs. You can make another one.
Arguably some of his best work is House of the Dragon.
Honestly, no cap. I agree, Edgar. I agree. Even though like there's still some bangers in the OG ones, of course.
Yeah.
But let's talk about this though. The reason he wants to go to the tourney at Ashford again, is it just so he can become an official knight at like a household, like somebody like a lord can like claim him? That's
So the reason is that he wants to go to the tourney and maybe win a few matches. So he makes an impression within the lords, and maybe one of the lords will take him into his castle and he can serve them. That's mostly
okay.
his end goal, at least in the book. But I can see why you don't really hear him like talk to himself about why he's doing what he's doing in the pilot.
No.
It's not as straightforward as it is in the book.
Yeah, I think we get like a couple lines, him being like, "I need to become, I need the lords to recognize me," kind of thing. Like, I understand that, but like, so it kind of seems like that one sequence in House of the Dragon when Kristen Cole initially was like jousting, and then that's when Rhaenyra first saw him. It's like, "Hey, I want this guy to be with me," part of the court, whatever. So it's kind of something similar, and not as high status, of course, but like, part of the family or whatever lord. Because I got some questions about that as we get into it. But yeah, I like the setting as we get into the bar here. We meet the barkeeper. We meet this interesting character. I took some notes, guys, because you know me. But we're doing a podcast. I gotta take some notes. Darren. Darren. That's all I have. He says, I dream of you. And then he puts a coin on the table. It looks like a Targaryen symbol. But I assume this isn't one of many Targaryens. So this is just for broader setting stuff. Like this is like 80 or so years after House of the Dragon, and then another 80 years before Game of Thrones, right? So it's like in that sweet spot
between 80 100 years. Right in the middle, basically.
So the Targaryens are dwindled post Dance of the Dragons. No dragons anymore, or there are some dragons around?
They're pretty much dead by this point. They're like extended. So another interesting thing that I'll be looking forward to if the show briefly explores it a little bit more than it is in. I mean, it is in the novels, but it's not the main point. This story, Duncan X, it takes place up roughly between, I want to say, maybe 5 or 20 years after the first Targaryen Civil War, the Blackfire Rebellion.
Okay. I've heard about this.
Which that war takes place after the Dance of the Dragons, which is what House of the Dragon is about. And like one of the notable things about that war is that it was a war fought between Targaryens, but at this point, nobody had dragons. All of them were dead, so it was mostly just on foot, like your typical stuff that you see in the first couple of seasons of GOT. But also, it was a war fought between legitimate Targaryens and bastard Targaryens. It's a whole thing, but eventually they kind of like split. They formed two bands, and the legitimate side eventually wins. It would make for a very interesting show. I've heard
about Blackfire Rebellion ever since like the OG Game of Thrones series. Is this all recorded in Fire and Blood, the book that's on my shelf?
No. No.
Where's it at? Where's the story coming from?
You can mostly find it probably in one of the history books, like a history of Ice and Fire, I think it's called. But
Fire and Blood just ends after House of the Dragon.
Roughly, it goes a little bit forward, but it ends about that point in the story, at least in that point of history. So one of the things that makes that war interesting for this story is that the realm is still kind of like wrestling with what happened and kind of like dealing with the aftermath, with the fact also that there's like maybe other Targaryen bastards out there that they might want to support, maybe not. And it's kind of like there's like a bitterness that the small folk have of, oh, what could have been if the other side won, or vice versa. Um, in the sense that it's a civil war,
Yeah.
people died, and now everybody's just like paying for it, while the rich are still enjoying their richness. Um and yeah, I'm trying not to spoil this, man, because there's some really cool stuff about it, um but that yeah that I really want them to explore that down the line. Maybe with a show. I've also said that it would make for a really good video game of like get to pick which side
Oh
you want to
wow.
be in. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of
I
like
think
the backdrop of of this show, at least. Like we're in the aftermath of that war.
I can see that happening. We don't have that many Game of Thrones shows in production. You know, Aegon's Conquest is ramping up. House of the Dragon season 3 and season 4. This show, but like Blackfire will make for a very fun like season or two, or maybe a movie. I don't know how long it is. Um, it sounds very interesting. It sounds very very.
And one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Since this show is gonna be taking a perspective of the smoke folk through like the character of Duncan,
Yeah.
you're really gonna get to see how like your average Joe sees like royalty. But not only that, since all the dragons are dead because of the Dance of the Dragons and all the conflict with the Blackfire rebellions, it gets to a point where House Targaryen shouldn't really have to feel like they need to participate in tourneys, especially like a very small tourney as the one in Ashford. But since
But
they
this
don't
guy,
have, huh?
but this guy is right, or at least like that's what like the previews or whatever was showing us.
Yeah. But since they don't have dragons anymore, post all of these wars, they kind of have to show up to these events to like show that they still are empowered, that they still have a presence within the realm. I don't think like in any other point of history you would see like a random Targaryen prince like attending these like very small tourneys. But again, since it's more of a necessity for them to still show like their powerful presence within Westeros, that's why they are attending these type of events.
Great point. Yeah,
It's fascinating.
they have to boost their like legitimacy in a way. Is a Targaryen still in? Is the king right now, king or queen right now? Do we have a Targaryen on the throne?
Yeah, it's a Targaryen.
Nice. So it's very interesting character. Is this drunken character the same character that was like in like the next time on Night of Seven Kingdoms? Is this the same guy that was like beefing with Dunk? Different Targaryen.
No, different one. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I thought they were the same person. Okay.
They do all look the same, Evan.
They all had the freaking blonde hair. You know, all these names are gonna kill me. You know.
There's another Daron in House of the Dragon season 3. So make notes.
I gotta keep these fucking notes. Bullet point these motherfuckers. So that was interesting. I'm also curious, like which ones are Rhaenyra and Daemon's kids, which ones are from the Hightower Targaryens. Like it's very interesting. But yeah, all right, about meeting the drunk person. What's it called? Oh, so then he goes to his stable, and then that's when he meets Egg on top of his horse, playing like a fake knight. That was very fun. Like, not their first interaction. The first interaction was outside, but this is kind of like a deeper interaction where he's just like playing around on a horse, and he kind of questions Dunk. You're like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm a knight." He's like, yeah, with a rope.
Like a rope as a belt. Yeah, like a sword.
Yeah, just questioning him. He says like he met like a lot of knights. I'm like,
you don't look like a knight.
Yeah, I was like, how do you know what knights look like, kid? So that's very interesting. Who is this Egg person? So we'll leave it at that. But then, yeah, So then he basically like tells Egg, feed his horses, but then nothing really comes out of that. Here, Egg wants to come on with him and become a squire, but Dunk really quickly like shuts him down in this scene. Doesn't want him following him around. Dunk has a mission, and I thought he was gonna like, stay the night, but he ended up leaving right after this. I was like, okay, wow, he's like in a rush to get to Ashton, whatever it's called. So yeah, that's very interesting. But then he makes it back. He makes it there to Ashdown in the following morning without Egg, and this is very interesting. And we meet the first things first here. He gets in there. I like how grimy and like this is one of those very interesting towns where it's very grimy, muddy, dirty. But we see a lot of different houses, a lot of different house sigils. Like it's like very crowded and mixed. It's very interesting.
Yeah, I really like that initial right into town scene. It just giving me like classic Western vibes, especially the one shot where he like stops in the middle of the gate and it's just like that wide shot of him in the middle. It's really
awesome.
Cool.
Love that shit. So then he meets like the master of the games. I really, really loved this scene because it's basically just like this. I forget the guy's name, but I have him down as just like the master of the games, the game master. Very funny scene. He's kind of like playing around with Dunk because Dunk is like coming there with full sincerity, while the guy just like playing with him, joking around, while also being serious and giving us the audience as well as Dunk the rules of like setting up the rules for the show and for this entire tournament. Major thing here is if Dunk loses, the winner has to, or the loser has to ransom off like his belongings or something like that. Basically means like if you lose and you're broke, it's a very bad combination to have there. It's very important that Dunk, not lose, because basically he told the guy, like, hey, if you lose, are you willing to like sell off for your stuff? And Dunk's like, I can't really afford that kind of shit. It's like, they're like, well, you better not lose. He's like, I don't plan on losing, kind of thing. So it's very, very interesting. Like Dunk is like he reached like a wall and a hard place kind of scenario where it's like he really wants to enter this tournament, but it's very high stakes because if you lose, he might be in a very bad situation. So he kind of like has to win because he has to get money. But even to get to the point of win or lose, he needs armor, of which he has zilch, and then he needs a lord to vouch for him. And the big part here, the reasoning is because they're playing it for jokes, but it gets serious. Where he's like, a random person can't just kill a person of like high status. It'll look very bad. That's kind of like the way I took it. Like it would look very bad if a Joe Schmo came over there and just like killed like a lord or an official knight. Like it would look bad to people. So this is very interesting, seeing all the rules get laid out.
And it also establishes more so that initial quote unquote mystery that we talked about of whether or not he was knighted.
Exactly.
With the whole thing about like, do you had any witnesses? And if not, then can you have somebody to vouch for you? So that entire scene is very funny. Again, like you mentioned, like that actor, he's one of those classic like British actors that just have like so much like personality, I guess. Like it reminded me of something like that you would see not so much in like original Game of Thrones, but more so like almost like Harry Potter. It felt like like a more Harry Potter-ish type character.
Like a guy who's seen it all. He's like, okay, one of you guys again is like, has anybody seen it? Like he's kind of tired of the BS, but he's also having fun with it too. It's very funny. And I think he also sees Dunk as, this is where it gets interesting, where we know Dunk is a very unassuming, like trusting kind of guy at the very least. This guy doesn't know who Dunk is from a rat's ass. So he's like trusting him. Like, are you lying to me, boy? It's like nobody else saw you. So like, are you really a knight? So he kind of like shoos him off at the same time that he's like, if you get in, you get in. That's cool. But like, you need these things. You need armor and you need somebody to vouch for you. And this is where Dunk thinks of this guy, Manfred Dundarian, who Sir Arlen, you talked about Sir Arlen fought for Manfred's father, which is honest stuff. I paused it when I was watching this with Jalen. I'm like, how is this like other lord supposed to know who Sir Arlen even is? Like, granted, like you can have like the nicest character in the world. It turns out this Manfred guy is an asshole, as we see later in the episode. But like,
But even if it wasn't,
it's like I don't like your father or this guy who is dead worked for my father, not me. Worked for my father as a random person in the army of like hundreds of people, and I'm supposed to know him and recognize you, who I've never seen before either. It's like all these secondhand bullshit. I'm like, sorry, dude, you're not getting a vouch from me. I don't know you at all. So it's very messy. Sorry, Dunk, but I can't vouch for you on this one. But he does end up trying to go to Manfred and Darian's place either way. And he has to go back because it's like in the morning, but the guy is like still sleeping or whatever. So he's like, hey, come back in the afternoon. And again, it felt like you mentioned like video gaming earlier. It felt very video gamey where he's like
side quest, like I'm gonna have to go get this for my armor.
Like he gets to the checkpoint, it's like come back later at nighttime, and you have to do some bullshit before it gets to nighttime.
Let me go watch some puppet show in the meantime.
Yeah, right. So I really liked that. It felt like very like Witcher vibes as well, like very just like cool and lived in. He meets these cousins along the way. I probably butchered the pronunciation here, but I have like a Fossaway cousins.
Yeah, Stefan Fossaway, and I think the other one was Raymond or something like that.
Okay, cool. I don't know which one's the older one or the younger one, but the younger one's getting his ass kicked. And they kind of asked Dunk, which one?
Raymond would be the younger one. Yeah.
Raymond's yeah. So Raymond asked Dunk like, "Hey, you want to beat my cousin up for me? He's beating my ass." And Dunk's like, "I'm staying out of it. Basically, I'm not. That's not my thing." Very funny. I assume we're gonna see these characters again.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite dynamics from the first novella, from the Hedge Knight, between these two cousins. If I remember correctly, in that novel, Stefan, like the older one, he was still proudful and maybe like a little bit ambitious, but there was like a bit of charm to him that even Duncan was like blinded to during like their first interactions. And in this, like at least from what we've seen, it's like more straightforward of like, oh, he's just a dick. I'm still like really enjoying the dynamic of what we've seen so far, but that's one of the notable differences that I noticed from these two characters so far.
Maybe he'll put on the charm in future episodes, but yeah, he seems like a dick, but also he seems like a dick who can like back it up a little bit. Like, granted, the younger cousin Raymond wasn't the most like skilled fighter, but like this guy was like going like, you know, beat for beat. Like he seemed at least very skilled. And we haven't seen Dunk in an actual fight, but we know Dunk's like 6'6", so it's like he got the height on him. He got a long sword, so I'm very curious to see how Dunk fights. Very curious about that.
Even like so far, just from that training scene of not just the cousins, but also the other knights that you can see in the backdrop.
Yeah.
I don't know, but like the choreography just seems more dynamic than maybe anything in House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. It's really cool.
It does. I felt that same way too. You can see the way that people are like even like practicing like their wrist movements, their hand movements. Like I'm like, okay, it looks pretty tight here. Which we know like from the trailers and from the upcoming episodes here, from the next time on, we're getting some intense action at least twice here, like with the tournament and then something later on in the season looks like. So I'm very excited to see what happens moving forward with the action, the way they shoot that. But yeah, I'm with you. I did catch something there. So yeah, we meet the younger cousin. Before that, we meet the Fossaway cousins, and then as you mentioned, later that night, he meets a hot puppeteer. After he hangs up his horses. Which we later see Egg come up there. But then he comes back to town. He meets a hot puppeteer at nighttime. I don't know her name, but she was pretty hot.
Tansel, I think is how you pronounce it.
Okay, I'll write that down.
Tanselle.
Tansel. Okay, cool. Hopefully we see her again. She seems very interesting.
This is one of the funny things about this being like a prequel to, you know, this franchise, because the budget is obviously probably not as big as House of the Dragon, but it's still significant.
Yeah.
And I only bring it up because they can actually afford like making what it's actually a puppeteer show in the books to like this massive like theater production in the show with like the
Yeah.
dragon and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like an actual, like, yeah, it says a puppeteer, but like she's playing with like these actual like dragon,
Animatronics and shit.
yeah, like Transformer ass shit. It's like actually spouting out fire. I'm like, oh shit, like what's going on here? Like, damn.
But it's really
Um,
cool. Yeah.
Really, really cool. I didn't take notes on like what she was telling in her story. Is that of any importance at all?
I think, I mean, the story is like a legend of like just a knight that got to kill a dragon.
Okay.
But I think that's gonna be more symbolic to Duncan's role, at least in this first novella.
Okay. Nice.
Symbolically of like, a knight going against the dragon.
Yeah, just like going. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's very interesting. Basically, I love when shows do that, kind of like tangentially talk about a character's path.
Yeah. It plants the
symbolic.
seed. It puts it in your head. Yeah.
Okay, that's very cool. Very cool. I'm gonna tell Jalen that one. Like, oh, okay, that's cool. That's cool. So he meets the younger cousin again at night, and he kind of leads him to my favorite character from this premiere here, and that is Lionel Baratheon, who because so let me try and get the order of events here. He meets the younger cousin, they talk for a bit. He goes to the Lionel Baratheon's cabin. It felt like something like at Disney World or Epcot, where it's like you just go into a cabin for some food or whatever. And it's very funny because can anybody just walk in here and just grab some food? Is that it? Like, hey, just I'm gonna cut in. I just saw the movie Is This Thing On? He couldn't even get into a comedy club without paying some kind of fee. Dunk just walks on in for some free food. I'm like, is it that easy? What's going on here?
Yeah.
That was very funny. But yeah, the food looked great. But even better was the performance of, again, Lionel Baratheon, who quickly spots Dunk here, who's trying to like hide and eat in the corner, but he's like 6'6", so he's like not really hiding. Very funny.
I love their interaction in this episode. Like this is one of my favorite relationships from this first novella.
Nice.
And I love that he's obviously a very highly charismatic man, and he's constantly like making jokes and like mocking people. But at the same time, while he's doing that, he's also telling the truth of when he calls Duncan over, and he's telling him, oh, like why are you like hiding? Like why are you I forgot the word exactly, but why are you behaving like this with your body? You are tall. You should like stand up straight. Basically, kind of like hyping him up, but also insulting him. I love when like characters like that, specifically in this world, manage to like walk that fine line.
Exactly. Yeah, it was so interesting. I'm with you there because like he's a very fun, out there personality, but you can tell he has like that stature that he is a lord. That he's still very much like, hey, why are you here? And I like that he was like hyping him up, hyping him up, while also like sussing him out to a degree. It's like, why are you here? He wasn't really prepared for Dunk, which makes this dynamic so funny and great already. Is that like he's sussing Dunk out. We know who Dunk is. He's like, I just came in here for some free food, and that immediately like washes like all the walls, like the peripheral walls away, and he can actually like the Lord can actually like chill out and be cool with Dunk for telling him something so sincere and so like random and honest. Like he can really tell that's coming from Dunk. Like, hey, this guy is not bullshitting me. Maybe I do like this guy, because like any other character would be like, like I don't know what's going on here, but like he likes Dunk.
They would either be acting like that, or they would be like kissing ass, like that one lord that he talks about of like, oh, this guy doesn't even pay his rents, his taxes, basically. But he brought me a knife to like come in and chill here. What are you bringing me? But I think at the end, what like Duncan really does bring to the table, it's his honesty, and I think that's what Lionel really likes about him.
For sure, it's that honesty, that like realness with him that you don't get from a lot of people in this world, which makes Dunk such an interesting character and makes the relationship so like really, really engaging and fun.
Yeah, and then after that, like really fun dance number that they have.
I love that. It felt so really like good. it felt so natural and free and just like
Yeah.
everything. This is the beauty of this episode because like everything you get from this character, this is the definition of like showing, not telling. Like everything you really need to get out of like who Lionel is outside of that initial conversation, you kind of get from him through his actions in the dance. He's a very abrasive personality, but wow, he's also still having fun and he's cool. Like, but he's still like a lord. So it's like all of that through that dance number is really, really cool.
Yeah. And then after that incredible dance number, we move on to like their conversation at the table, back in the table with Duncan wearing like the crown of the stag.
Even being willing to like give that to Dunk.
Give it that, just to like a random person.
Wow.
I again, another example of both like making fun of him, but also just like hyping him up, of Dunk genuinely asking, do you think I have a shot at this? And him saying, no, but just trying it's worth it. Like just trying is brave enough of anybody to just want to do it. So why just go ahead and do it?
Yeah, it's very admirable. But this is where I have my big question in following this episode was like, so he needs Manfred to give him like to vouch for him because Manfred knows his master because his master worked for his dad, possibly. This is from Dunk's perspective. But why can't, after having this great conversation with Lionel, is Lionel not allowed to vouch for Dunk? Is that not possible?
I don't remember if that's ever discussed in the novella. I think it honestly might just be more of a Duncan thing than anything else, because again, like he as genuine as he is, he's also, one of his flaws is that he's not the brightest, and you see that throughout this episode.
Yeah.
So honestly, it might just be a case of just it never occurred to him of just like asking somebody else.
I feel that too, because like once you're set in your ways, and again for a lot of non-intelligent people, but like once you're set in your ways, like, oh, I just have to do X, Y, and Z, and I'll be good. You don't really consider the ABC. You don't consider the other option, the third option of it all. Like he just hit it on great with this character. Like why didn't he like push a little bit? But again, the part that Lionel likes about Dunk is that he doesn't really push. He's just very honest and earnest, and that's very admirable in this world.
Yeah, and as great of a banter as they have, again, Duncan once again, as I mentioned before, he points out the difference between the smoke folk and people of noble houses. Of if I go and do this, I participate in the journey and I lose everything. If you go and lose, you'll be fine because you still have an inheritance. You still have a name. I don't have any of those things. So as much as these two characters relate to each other and like each other, there's always going to be like that thing blocking their pathways and like in the middle of the bridge, basically.
Yeah, which is going to be very fun to piece, to see how long that holds as time goes on here with their relationship, whether it deepens or softens. But yeah, you're right. Like one's a lord and one literally has nothing. He has 3 horses that he can hardly keep an eye on and take care of. So it's very interesting to see the relationship develop.
Before moving on, though, did you ever saw that show, like the show version of The Gentleman on Netflix?
I did not. The one with like Theo James and that. Yeah. I didn't watch it.
The actor that plays Lionel is in that show. He's basically playing that character here in Game of Thrones.
No way.
Although he's like a little bit, well, not even a little. He's way more obnoxious in The Gentleman. But
I wonder if that show is getting a season 2. I should watch that.
I thought it hadn't announced. I think it did pretty good when it came out. I think that's what I took from it. But it's a solid show.
I should watch it. I'm starting. I started episode 1 of like His and Hers with Tessa Thompson and John Bernthal on Netflix the other day. But yeah, that was very funny. But yeah, their relationship kind of reminds me of if anybody's watching The Pit this season.
I think I know. Right?
Mel had a conversation with some random dude, and she was like so like just talking about whatever, and that kind of reminded me of Dunk, where he's like just talking about whatever, not knowing like any other like option or whatever. Like Dunk has like just no clue what's going on for a lot of the time. It's gonna be very interesting to see like how he like navigates this, because it's hard to navigate this world of Westeros without either being like highly intelligent or slimy or willing to do what you have to do. that's not who Dunk is, and that's not who you are, you usually end up dead. But I'm very curious to see how Dunk navigates that, given his very open personality. But yeah, I can't wait to see this Lionel character again. Apparently, he's going to be in Star Wars Starfighter as well. I forgot that was happening, but that's really cool. That's the one Star Wars movie I'm looking forward to. Not the one coming out.
One more point for Sean Levi.
Yeah, not at the museum. Let's go. But yeah, even in my notes, I have like, are they becoming friends? What's going on here? So I like that a lot. But eventually, it is nighttime, which means the main story quest, can continue. So he goes back to the main story quest, and he runs into Manfred, who's also at this Baratheon party with two other women. And Manfred basically just says, yeah, no, like very like rudely. But this is what's so interesting about this show, this episode, is that we're getting different types of lords. He just had a great, open, very fun, engaging conversation with Lionel Baratheon, a very high up lord. Manfred is probably not as high up as Lionel, but he's still a prominent lord, and he's the exact opposite personality-wise. He's like telling Dunk off immediately, not even willing to have a conversation. He's like, I don't know who the heck your master is. I don't know who you are. I'm not going to vouch for you, basically. He just goes about his day.
Yeah. One more interaction that we missed that it comes before this or Lionel's is the one that he has with the sex workers earlier in the episode.
Oh yeah, I missed that. Yes,
and like an interesting thing about that is that even them, who should be about the same level as Duncan in terms of like they're still like relatively smoke folk.
Yeah.
They're also like mocking him, but it gets to a point where even like Duncan finally speaks up, of like, oh, like why are you like talking down to me like that? And it gets to them, and it's like very like sincere moment between these women and him. Of it's not like that we're mocking you; it's that we've seen so many people like you come and go, and they just end up losing everything. So why would you want to do that as well? Why would you want to go this path? And you just see like the differences of people like that who they're skeptical, but from a place where they care. And then there's the ones about like Lionel, where they're also skeptical, but they're more encouraging. And like the points of view come from their place in the world. One is from like a higher house, and one is from just random people who walk around Westeros.
Random people like these sex workers, but they're very cynical as well. They're very cynical. Yeah. They've seen a lot of, and they have reason to be. And this is where we get our first introduction to Duncan and to us, like who a hedge knight actually is. A hedge knight, somebody who is like has no official lord or whatever, no official household, but he literally sleeps like in hedges outside of households, right? To really like kind of like function that way, which is why they call it like a Knight of Seven Kingdoms, right? Because he goes from one kingdom to the next, kind of thing.
Sort of, but also like another thing that I don't think they've brought up in the show yet, but it's definitely like a major thing right from the get-go in the novel, is that one of the reasons why hedge knights are not as respected is because, again, they don't really belong to like one specific lord. They're not like in service of one specific lord. So a lot of people treat them as just a common sellsword. Yeah, just like a basically like a mercenary. Even though like but even though like they still follow the rules, or at least they try to, they don't get the respect that other knights get.
Yeah, because they're not like do they get like an official like sigil or anything? Hedge knights?
They can make their own sigil. Like I believe Sir Arlen had his sigil. It's the one that he in the shield, the one with the cup and the wings.
Yeah, really cool.
So they are allowed to make their own sigils, but again, it's not like that makes them like that makes them like form like a noble house. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah, but yeah, you're right. It just this interaction as well between him and these other women makes it very interesting. Where it's like, hey, why are you guys looking down on me? We're in the same position. Goddamn. But yeah, they've seen a lot of Duncans die. Probably it was just like, okay, you're just the next one in the line, or so they think. But yeah, this part was very interesting. Also, I forgot to mention, so when he walks into town, he sees a lot of people with guards with their sun sigils. That's the sigil of like Ashton, right?
Yeah, I believe that's the one from the noble house that basically operates Ashford. Yeah.
Ashford, yeah.
And basically, Ashford is like around the Reach, is like not that far off from High Garden and that
God.
stuff.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. So I was trying to put this together on the map.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's in the south, basically.
it's in the south. Yeah. Um. So yeah, very very cool. Very very cool. I just loved again seeing all this setting and all these character world building stuff. Um. And then okay, yeah. So then later that night after, so yeah, Manfred kind of turns him down. Now what? Like in episode 2 can be like, hey Manfred, I've come to bargain. Like is each episode gonna come to this random character and try to get him to vouch for him, or is some other lord gonna help Duncan vouch for him? I don't know. That's very interesting.
Yeah, so like in the books, like he's trying to manage like different things at the same time. He's trying to like get Manfred to basically accept him, but he's also trying to come up with money to pay for an armor. We haven't seen that in the show yet, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's what's gonna happen in episode 2 and in the following episodes. And like just having to, he already has the squire by the end of this episode, so that's off the check. You can check that off the list. Um, so yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing him get maybe more overwhelmed with stuff in the following episodes, but it's also gonna be interesting for me to see because again, it's a very short story, it's very straightforward, and even though it's a show and it's technically sort of like a limited series, it's only 6 episodes, it's also, you have to extend things and like add things, so I'll be interested in what they add and what they
Yeah.
change.
Next episode I think is like 31, 35 minutes, and then like
Yeah.
it gets shorter and shorter. It's very interesting. But we went through this with Barry, one of my favorite shows ever. And Barry
Yeah.
can pack a lot into half an hour.
Yeah. HBO knows how to do it, baby.
HBO knows how to do it, baby. I agree. But yeah, the last scene here is very great here. We get Egg, who just turns out to be at Duncan's camp. I wonder how long, the woman at the inn said it was like a day's ride. So maybe Egg followed him for a minute. I was like, how did Egg survive that journey? But it was only like a day's journey. So good on you, Egg. But Egg's there with the horses, just chilling. And this is where he asks again to be a squire. But in this time, Dunk accepts. Do you think he accepts so readily because Egg made it all the way here?
I think it's a mix of things. I think one is like he kind of like sees what the kid has done, and he kind of sees himself probably when he was young serving Sir Arlen. But also, it's just a matter of what we just discussed. Of he has to have a squire in order for him to participate in the tourney. So he's probably maybe not actively, like consciously, doing it for this reason, but he's also doing it for himself. Not necessarily selfish, but he's like, okay, I'll give you a shot and I'll use you for my own needs as well.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was getting to. Where he's like, okay, I need this kid, but it's awesome because it's very much, Wolf and the Cub. It's very much like Joel and Ellie. It's like, hey, this kid's for the mission. Fine, I guess I'll bring you along across the world, and then they start getting a heartwarming relationship. So I'm very, very, very eager to see just in the next 5 episodes how emotional this relationship can actually get. And how vulnerable Egg is willing to be with Duncan, how vulnerable Duncan's going to be willing to give or to be with Egg. I also do like that Egg mentions like, hey, Dunk, is that short for Duncan? He's like, oh, sure. Like he just starts the whole Duncan thing. I think Arlen just called him Dunk and just stuck with it. Nobody really called him Duncan. But I think Egg was just like, hey, Duncan. It's like, hey, awesome. I'll go with that from now on, which is already starting things off well, giving him like an actual full name rather than just Dunk.
And it also, again, it shows off that Duncan isn't the brightest, not just because of, why didn't I come up with that, but also in the sense that clearly this kid is very well educated. He can't possibly be from Flea Bottom.
yeah. It's like, this guy is not from Flea Bottom, but he's from that area, not from Flea Bottom. Where you from, buddy? You ain't from the north.
Yeah, and another thing that he's a star. Another thing that I love about that is that, like, one of the closing interactions between the two, obviously they see the star pass by, and they have that conversation about like every single lord in this town in at the tourney, they're all in their tents, in their pavilions. They're all looking up, and they're looking at silk, but we're looking at the stars. And like the star kind of like represents like luck. And this is the change from the book, where everything that they're like saying to each other is just Duncan saying it to himself. Like it's like an inner monologue of like, oh,
Wow.
the luck only belongs to us. He kind of like comes up with that, but in the show, it's Egg the one who says it to Duncan. And then I like the change in the sense that, again, it shows you the dynamic between the two. It shows that this kid is very bright, that he's way more educated than even Dunk probably believes him to be.
And more optimistic too. I like that
And
version
I'm
of
more
like,
optimistic.
the little kid, the youthful one,
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
like, "Hey, like we're the ones with the luck on our side here." That's very
Even
cool,
though even though they're literally like outside, like sleeping in the grass.
right? Yeah, like definitely again the rags to riches, starting from the bottom scenario. That's really cool. I like that a lot. But yeah, this was a great first episode. But also one of my favorite bits of the episode here was the closing moments with the score. Like I was liking the vibe overall, but like the score with his end credits, I immediately was like, Dan Romer, hello, because I'm a huge fan of the Peter Pan and Wendy soundtrack on Disney Plus, but also one of my favorite shows on Netflix, Maniac, with Emma Stone and Jonah Hill, has a phenomenal score from Dan Romer. If nobody has ever watched Maniac, I think it's still on Netflix, but go watch Maniac with Emma Stone, Jonah Hill. One of the best scores you'll ever hear from a TV miniseries. It's like 6 episodes. It's really charming. It's really like similar to this one. Dan has a very good use of like these whimsical, like windy scores, and I really liked the violin and
Yeah,
the chimes of it all here. It felt very like cozy. I really liked
yeah,
it. I really liked it.
yeah. And I think that's the best way to describe the show, at least so far. It's a very cozy show. There's like any Game of Thrones show property. There's a lot of nights that you need to keep track of. There's a lot of not as many subplots as House of the Dragon or Game of Thrones. If we were talking about House of the Dragon, we would be like halfway through barely right
Halfway through our discussion.
now. But yeah, I don't know how we pulled some of those episodes out. Like, we need to talk about the Greens, we need to talk about the Blacks and stuff like this.
Despite how crazy the back half of season 2 was, like I had a lot of fun talking about that shit every single week.
Yeah. So we don't have as many things to break down every week. So just like at the show, hopefully it'll be like a very quick in and out, just discussing each episode.
Exactly.
But yeah, anything and last thoughts what you're looking forward to for next week?
Again, I keep talking about it, but that the next time on, the like coming up for the rest of the season looks very like, I know we're gonna get episodes like this that are very much tame, built on character interactions, but not gonna lie, like Edgar mentioned, the action looked pretty interesting from the glimpses that we saw. So I'm very curious to see what this jousting entails. How brutal is this show going to be? The series Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, known to be pretty brutal. So how brutal, how intense are these fight scenes going to be? But also, yeah, like how is Dunk gonna rise up? And how is he going to survive? How is he going to, fight and contend himself with all these bigger, more threatening individuals? I can't wait to see how that happen. I say more threatening, but he's still like the tallest guy in the room, so so that's going to be very fun to see. The next 5 episodes look very interesting, and yeah, people don't know, like this might be one of the longer episodes of the season. This like clocked at like 41, 42 minutes. Next couple of weeks are like 31, 35, 32. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how the pacing goes for a smaller, tighter episode.
Yeah, I see people complain. Well, I don't know if complain is the right word, but like people suggesting like, oh, why didn't you just like make this like a 3-hour movie off the get-go? But like, in all honesty, do you really think like a 3-hour spin-off movie of Game of Thrones will like do well? It would probably be fine like in theaters, but I don't know if it would be like a box office juggernaut or anything like that.
It would not. It would have made less than 28 years later the Bone Temple this weekend. Hey,
Yeah.
But I think people say that, like, why was this like, and I'm glad 2 things. I'm glad it's not a movie, and I'm glad it's not released all at the same time. I'm glad we were able to have this discussion. And
for now.
I know I say that like the whole WB Warner Brothers and Netflix deal. What's going to happen to these future seasons of like United Seven Kingdoms when this show comes back in like 2028? It's like, is it like if the Netflix deal goes through, is Netflix going to like do the binge model with HBO shows, or are they going to give it the weekly stuff? We know Netflix is capable of doing weekly drops. It does it like Arcane does like 3 episodes every week. Certain reality shows do like 2 episode drops every week. Like it can happen. Netflix, you are capable of it, so stick with that. Because I don't want to watch every episode of the Pit season 5 over the weekend. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Also, another thing is that I really do hope that people learn how to be patient with this world again. This is not a huge story like House of the Dragon where there's like something happening every episode. Like there's like this big like WTF moment. There'll be moments like that here and there, but that is not what this show is. It's way more like character centered, and given how people's attention spans are in the gutter right now, I just hope like they're like actually patient. I have no idea how the show did last night in terms of like viewership numbers.
I'm curious. 10 p.m. is a bit later than usual, so viewership numbers are probably like already not going to be sky high because it has like that 10 p.m. slot. It doesn't have that Euphoria or even Last of Us like 9 p.m. slot. But I am curious about that. Probably going to come in on a lower end. It's not going to be like a Welcome to Derry kind of hit, but they shouldn't expect that, even though it has like the Westeros bump. It is a smaller scale story.
Yeah, and as much as we're talking about like our love for weekly releases for TV, I think the show is gonna kill it once it's all done, and like people will be able to binge it. I think that's where the show will really find its footing.
I can tell it could be the perfect binge stuff. It's good that it's not being a binge, but like once it all comes out, it'll work even better as a binge.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll take them not 2 years in between seasons. I think they've already said that they want to do at least 1 season a year, which honestly is very manageable with this story. It's very small scale anyway. And also, like their Harry Potter show, you have to get your shit together because of the kids. So you can't be waiting 2-3 years.
I did say, I thought like, okay, we'll get, House of the Dragon coming out in 2 years' time, season 4 at least. But yeah, Duncan Egg can come out like every year just to keep some Westeros on the table for the HBO slate. That's a very good call. I can't believe I didn't mention that. But yeah, Egg, they don't want to Avatar: The Last Airbender situation either. So, or Stranger Things scenario. Or is like, hey, Dunk, and Dunk is like 6 foot tall. Like you never know. He can get as tall as like Finn Wolfhard and just like grow out of nowhere and just be like, oh shit, what did he do?
What are we feeding these kids, Evan?
But yeah, you're right. I hope people can stick with this show. I'm loving Fallout Season 2. It's also slow pace, but I saw somebody being like, man, Fallout Season 2 is so boring. I'm like, I'm really locked in. Like, it's a very slow pace but engaging show as well.
Yeah, I'm really liking the dynamic between the Goal and Lucy so far.
Really great stuff, especially with the way the last episode ended.
The last episode,
Great shit. But yeah, I can't wait to be back here for future episodes. I can't wait to do this again for House of the Dragon in the summertime. No official release date, but June probably makes sense. May, June, July, one of those months. Pick a poison. And then HBO also has Euphoria coming out. They have a stacked 2026.
Shout on VistaVision, baby.
VistaVision, baby. But yeah,
what is he doing?
We always say, "What is he doing?" Like, what is Zendaya? But
it always works.
Yeah, like what is Zendaya doing? What is all these characters, all these actors have outlived this show. Like what are we doing here?
They're bigger than the show at this point.
Every single one of them are bigger than the show. It's crazy. But yeah, that's just how it is.
Where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. Yesterday, Nathan and I did a recap of Percy Jackson Season 2, Episode 7, as well as The Pit Season 2, Episode 2. We'll be recapping episodes of Percy Jackson. Well, the finale is this Tuesday or Wednesday. But we'll be reviewing stuff of The Pit every day, every week. And we're soon going to be doing commentaries of Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 1 in prep for Season 2 coming out in like a few months. So that's what I'm doing on that. For us on this channel, we have our awards talk tomorrow, both our own awards, as well as predictions for this Thursday's Oscars. So a lot of podcasts, a lot of movies. If the Bradley Cooper movie is in theaters near you, go see it. Bradley Cooper's not paying me to say that. He should. He's not, but go see that movie.
We're doing the marketing for Disney from this.
We're doing the marketing for them. Yeah, Fox First ain't doing shit. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. Harris, EV9.
Honestly, like we'll talk about it on Tuesday, but I think is this thing off if they actually put some effort into it, it would have been a much easier sell, a much easier pill to swallow for people than Anne Lee. But
anyway. 1000%. Yeah.
Yeah, you can find me at EDG or TEG and all social medias. You can find the show at WFG Podcast. As Evan said, we'll be back on tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow's Tuesday. For our Oscar show and our own personal awards. And yeah, we'll see you next week around this time again for episode 2 of A Night in Seven Kingdoms. Bye-bye.